Hello, viewers. This is Paladin of Odin, and this is some more Magic the Gathering Online. This is another episode of the Standard Commentary series, and it looks like we've got black-red vampires versus possibly blue-red control, though it could be blue-red aggro. It's not quite as common as control, but it's still a possibility. Huh. Two cards on the bottom. Oh, I was thinking it was Scry. Never mind. So far, vampires have Olivia's Bloodsworn, which is a 2/1 flyer that can't block and pay a red, and you can give target vampire haste until the end of turn. So provided, your other vampire is cheap to play, this is actually a very powerful ability. And then the fact that it's a 2-power flyer for 2 is actually really good. Oh, another one. Too bad he couldn't have played a second mountain. That way he could have given it haste and attacked in for 4 this turn. Oh, maybe it's Grixis control. So, in for 2 from Vampires. Shambling Vent. I, now I just kind of feel like this guy is messing with me, playing as many multicolored lands as possible so that I have no idea what he's playing. Insolent Neonate. And again, too bad he doesn't have another mountain. But 4 more damage here as the unknown deck goes down to 14. But it's not going to be very hard for him to wipe out these vampires. Languish, Planar Outburst, and he plays Oath of Gideon. Well, that'll get him 2 blockers for the Neonate, but that won't help him against the Bloodsworn. And I have a feeling that the Vampire deck just needs one more land. Okay, firing off the Insolent Neonate to discard a card and draw a card, discarding Fiery Temper. He pays the Madness cost and domes him for 3 damage with the Fiery Temper. And throws down a dead weight to kill off one of the core tokens. And in for 4 more flying, so the unknown deck is down to 7. And with all these different mana colors available to him, he should have plenty of answers to be able to deal with 2/1 creatures. Ob Nixilis Reignited. Well, that'll get rid of one of them. And more importantly, at the moment, unless Vampires play something else, he has 3 loyalty, and this only has 2 power. Ally token is attacking in for 1, so Vampires is finally down to 19. Skeleton Key. Haven't seen anybody play with this before. 1 drop, 2 to equip. Equipped creature has Skulk. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. And 2 to Ob Nixilis, guaranteeing that he won't be able to -3 and kill it. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, he's got Oath of Gideon, he's got Ob Nixilis, so most likely He's probably playing a Super Friends deck, or at least that's the feeling I'm getting right now. So +1 to draw a card and lose a life, attacks in for 1 with the core token, and follows it up with Chandra Flamecaller. And since it's his second main phase, I'm guessing he's going to go with a -1 so that he can kill off this vampire. And the Super Friends deck took the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to talk about how Black Red Vampires is, as you'd expect from a cheap aggro deck. You know, they can run on very low amounts of mana, but they, getting stuck on 2 for this long, even the best, simple aggro deck is gonna struggle on 2 mana. Fiery Temper, hard cast, going for the face. And at this point, there's no reason not to. He's at 6. Another Fiery Temper, and he wins. Oh, redirecting to Ob Nixilis. I was actually expecting him to go face with that. Chandra makes her elemental tokens. That'll be 6 damage this turn. Jace, Unraveler of Secrets. So, +1, scry 1, draw a card. And unfortunately, he's just 1 mana short of being able to man up the Shambling Vent to make that 8 damage. But then again, at this point, it's pretty much the Super Friends deck's game to win here. So 6 more damage. Vampires will be down to 12. Second main phase, Call the Gatewatch. Okay, so the Planeswalker tutor. He goes for Narset Transcendent. And I have to say, if vampires hadn't gotten mana screwed, the Super Friends deck would have been very, very dead. This game was far too slow for this to be a typical game. Against a deck like Black Red Vampires, if this is typical of this Super Friends deck, he will lose almost every time, unless something like this happens. Alright, Tormenting Voice, discarding Dead Weight. He's finally up to 4 mana. +1 on Jace, +1 on Chandra. 6 more damage, and next turn is lethal. And a second Chandra. Never mind, this turn is lethal. Unless the Vampire's deck has something like a Fiery Impulse to kill one of these creatures, because all he needs to do is kill 1. Nope, that's 12 damage to the face, and that's the game. That was just an unfortunate run for the Black-Red deck. I'm going to try and get game 2, because this deck should be really fast. Okay, turn 2, Call the Bloodline. I have to say, that seems like a pretty slow play for this vampire deck. I was actually kind of hoping for something a little more aggressive. But then again, there are some really good vampire cards that have madness costs. So, with Call of the Bloodline, you can pay 1 and discard that card, get a vampire token, and then on top of that be able to play the card for its madness cost. So it's a little slower, but then again, you can compound its benefits, provided your opponent doesn't kill your creatures. But Insolent Neonate and an Asylum Visitor, so that's 4 power on the board. And Radiant Flames for 3 clears the board. It's a little early for that, honestly, considering, it was only 4 power on the board. You could afford to take a few points of damage before you did that, hoping to get, 1 or 2 more creatures with that blast. Unless, of course, he has another board clear in his hand, in which case, why not? He could have another Radiant Flames, he could have Kozilek's Return. So Falkenrath Gorger, discarding Call the Bloodline to Call the Bloodline. Warped Landscape. Yeah, there's 2 really powerful one cost with on their madness cost. Excuse me. They're 3 drops normally. Let's see. There's Fiery Temper, as you've seen. 1 red for its madness cost, so that's really powerful for 3 damage. And then another card that's very similar to that. Okay, discarding Fiery Temper to Call the Bloodline. That'll get him another Vampire Knight and allow him to deal 3 damage to the face. The other card that I was thinking of is kind of a black version of Fiery Temper. Alms of the Vein, I think it's called. It causes target opponent to lose 3 life and you gain 3 life, and its madness cost is 1 black. So, again, that's basically 3 extra points to the face for 1 mana. Anticipate from the Superfriends deck. And Narset Transcendent. +1, that puts her up to 7 loyalty counters. Look at the top card. Let's see if he finds a non-creature, non-land card. Or if he wants to reveal it. Because you don't have to. So, that's still pretty slow for the Superfriends deck. This isn't the most ferociously aggressive that I've seen a Black-Red Vampires deck. But then again, he did have Radiant Flames early. So, 2 mana, pay 1 to discard a card, pay its madness cost thanks to Falkenrath Gorger, and basically he got 2 1/1s, 1 with lifelink, 1 with menace, for a total of 2 mana. That's 2, 3, 4 damage to Narset. That'll take her down to 3. Unfortunately, she still has enough loyalty counters to go -2, depending on what he has to play with. And that's the problem with Narset, is she doesn't have a really good way of defending herself. A lot of Planeswalkers, their inherent design is, I have a plus ability that does a little something. And then I have a minus ability that protects myself. Ooh, Radiant Flames for 3. Another board clear. Okay, so I was talking crap about this Superfriends deck being too slow, and obviously he's built his deck as well as one could expect, and he has excellent responses for decks like Black-Red Vampires. It's just, in the first game, we didn't see them because he didn't need them. Oath of Chandra. 3 damage to target creature and opponent controls, so that's the vampire token dead. Narset +1, doesn't reveal a card. And Vampires draws his card and concedes. Unfortunately, I mean, he did have a decent run. It's just the Super Friends deck always had an answer before he could get any momentum going. You know, 2 or 3 creatures in play, boom, Radiant Flames. 3 or 4 creatures in play, boom, Radiant Flames. And, for all we know, he has, Radiant Flames, Kozilek's Return, Languish, Planar Outburst. He has tons of possible answers to mob decks. And in that particular instance, I mean, the Vampire deck could have had a better run, but at the same time, that wasn't a bad run. The first one was bad. But I've rambled on for long enough. I'm going to end the video. That was 4-color Super Friends versus Black-Red Vampires. And if you liked what you saw, hit that like and subscribe button for me, and I'll see you in the next video.